ओम सदाशिवसमारम्भां व्यासशङ्करमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। So let's read the first three verses. नित्यानन्दसुखं पदं सुविमलं प्राप्तुं समीहायुताः सर्वे जन्मभृतः सदा व्यसनिनः तत्स्थानसम्मार्गणे एवं सत्यपि साध्य साधनयुगं सम्यक् न जानन्ति ते न प्राप्ता अधुनापि सौख्यपदवी स्वाभीष्टरूपां यतः तत्प्राप्यै प्रभुसंयुतापि कृपया तत्प्राप्यै प्रभुसंयुतापि कृपया तय्यन्तसारान्विताः वल्लीकाटकमध्यगा कविसमं प्रोत्साहयन्ती नरान् एवं साधनकल्पनां रचयते सन्मार्गगानां सतां तद्विष्णौ परमं पदं च सहसा गन्तुं मनीषावताम् आत्मानं रतिनं ब्रवीति निगमो बुद्धिं च तत्सारथिं देहं स्यन्दनमिन्द्रियाणि दुरगान् शब्दादि तद्गोचरम् चेतप्रग्रहमादरेण इमान् पश्यास्तनोत्यात्मवान् तस्यैवाप्यमिदं पदं सुखगनं पारं परं ह्याद्वनः। Fourth, up to third we finished last class. We will do the fourth mantra, read the mantra, and then I will explain the meaning of this mantra. Prapyam tatparam sukham hi munayo प्राप्यं तत्परं सुखं हि मुनयो मोक्षं समाचक्षते प्राप्यं तत्परं सुखं हि मुनयो मोक्षं समाचक्षते जीवेशान जगदीश्वरेश रहितं ज्ञानैकसाध्यं ध्रुवम् येनात्मन्यतिरोहितः स्वमहिमान् आनन्दात्मको भासते मिथ्याध्यासमतीश्च येन गलति ज्ञानं तदेवामलम्। So प्राप्यं तत्परं सुखं हि मुनयो. So prapyam means that which is to be achieved, that which is to be achieved. Prapyam, or that which is to be attained is called prapyam. What is to be attained? Tat param. Tat parama means what? Tat means that. That is that consciousness which is of the nature of paramam. Therefore called tat plus paramam, tat param. Right? So paramam. And what is the nature of this paramam sukham? So prapyam tat paramam sukham means this once this is achieved, or this consciousness or status of being free is achieved by the person, then the person becomes happy, sukham, because in fullness you cannot be devoid, cannot have any shortcomings. If you are full, it means that you don't have any shortcomings anymore. So sukham means what? Sukham means happiness. Happiness is equal to fullness. Fullness is equal to limitlessness. So you must put the equation. Happiness is equal to fullness. You can be happy only when you are full, whether in terms of knowledge or in terms of stomach also. You will be happy only when you are full. If you are half eaten and you are not at full, then sometimes you feel a little bit unhappy because you have to go back and again make it full. So in happiness, there is no thing called something shortcoming is there. You do not feel the need to go back and have anything more again or enjoy anything more. This is an example, like in economics, when you study in school, the law of equimarginal utility, right? So they always teach you that the first gulab jamun you had, you enjoy. Then you have the second gulab jamun, you enjoy. Third, you get, so as you keep on having more and more gulab jamuns, the utility from those subsequent things deteriorates. So you will not get the same ananda as you had the first time. So after a certain point of time, you feel you don't want anything more. And even if somebody offers you fresh, hot gulab jamun, you just walk away from that. Why? Because you're already full. You already reached the level of happiness which that particular object can give you. So you are no longer interested. So in the same way, prapyam tatparam sukham. So when that particular objective which is to be attained, and that tatparam sukham hi munayo. So who is munayo? Munihi. Munayo means what? Rishis. Muni means rishi, wise person. Munayo means the wise people. So munayo. So in plural, munayo. So what are to say? So the word he means what? Indeed. It stands for emphasis. So indeed, the wise people have understood this as that to be achieved, prapyam. And this is the nature of tat param. And that tat param is nature of happiness. So the wise people have already found this formula of finding the ultimate happiness, which is called moksham. So moksham sama chakshate. So moksha means what? The freedom. So in happiness you have freedom. In unhappiness you have bondage. Okay. So when you are happy, you don't have anything called unhappiness. You are just completely free person. Right? And you are moksham. So moksham sama chakshate. Is equivalent to moksham. That is what the wise people have said. So the munayo prapyam tatparam sukham hi moksham samachakshate. Then jiveshana jagadishwara rahitam. So jiva ishwara jagat rahitam. So jiva ishwara jagat rahitam. Which means what? This tat param that Sukham, in that there is no thing called Jiva. There is nothing called Jagat. There is nothing called Ishvara. And Rahitam means devoid or absence. So Rahitam means absence of the Vedaha, differences. So Vedam, when it says Veda means differences. What are the differences? Triputi Veda, or three different types of Vedas. What are the three? Jiva, Ishvara, Jagat. So who is Jiva? We are all Jivas. So the one who thinks that is Jiva is the person who is always limited in knowledge, limited in happiness, limited in performance, limited in all aspects. It's called Alpagyaha. So Alpagyanam is equal to Jiva. Sarvagyanam is equal to Ishvara. Then Jagat. What is Jagat? This universe. So this universe which is perceived by us, which has got all the different objects, different types of species, is called Jagat. So the Jiva is separate, Jagat is separate, and then this Jagat which is created by the Ishvara also separate. This is the understanding of a typical person. So what do we do? I am just an individual. See, who am I? I'm just a small person in this entire thing. I do not have anything to do with Bhagavan. This whole universe is run by Bhagavan. This whole world is, is bigger than me. Who am I to say? So when you say like this, what you're expressing? You are expressing your own limited viewpoint, correct? So you are limited in terms of your own perception. You are limited small in terms of the perception with the universe. Then you're also limited, very, very limited in terms of perception of the Bhagavan who created the universe. Correct? So there are three different types of things I talked about here. So Jiva, Jiveshana, Jagadishwara, Rahitam. Correct? So the people, the wise people, have understood this Tat Paramam Sukham to be free from Jiva, Ishvara, Jagat, Rahitam. Because in happiness, there cannot be, oh, I am still a Jiva. See, when you say I am totally happy, happiness involves fullness, correct? And in fullness, you cannot have any shortcomings, as I told you in the beginning itself. You have shortcomings only when you feel limited. Then, Jnanam, Jnanika Sadhyam Dhruvam. So, Jnana Ekam means Jnanam only. Jnanaekam means what? Only through Jnanam it is possible. Any amount of puja, any amount of Namasankirtanam, Bhajanai, Kirtanai, etc. will not get you this Jnana. All these are required for preparing your mind. See, all the activities which you do, they are all required for preparing the mind for Jnana. But those activities alone will not give you Jnanam at all. Those activities are Karyam. Correct? So Karyam means what? They are action oriented. So Jnanam is what? There is no Karyam. In Jnanam, there is no action being done. Because in Jnanam, what do we say? We are Akarta. We are not the non-doer. So Jnanam is equal to Atma, the Brahman, or the consciousness. In Jnanam, you have the understanding of Purna Jnanam, that you are the consciousness, you are the Atma, and you are the source of all the actions. So in you, all the actions arise, in you, all the actions are being done, and in you, all the actions are also resolved. So you are just a witness, you do not do any actions. So Jnanaika Ekam means this is the only method, there is no other method. Somebody tells you that, oh, it is possible to do, some sort of, rituals, some pujas, some extended pujas, visiting temples, doing austerity, charity, serving to the Bhagavan. So many sweeping, so many things are being done there. Culturing temples, building wells, donating to the poor. All of them will give jnanam. This is not possible. Shastram is very clear with that. You can do all of them, one of them or all of them together. All of them is going to prepare you for Ishvara Shraddha. So it will make you prepare having Shraddha. Astikya Buddhi we call, correct? Astikya Buddhi means what? Having trust in the Bhagavan, having reverence for the Shakti of the Bhagavan. It is very important. So this will only prepare you for that. But what is the one which takes you to final jnanam? Jnanika sadhyam dhruvam, right? So dhruvam means what? That which is always persisting. That which is always permanent is dhruvam. So dhruvam means that which is always permanent, which does not move, which does not come and go. It's called dhruvam. And what is the nature of the of dhruvam? Jnanam. Right? And how is jnanam? Ekam. So the adjective for jnanam is ekam. So jnanam is the nature of only one, single. There's no two jnanams there. You cannot say that I have this bhakti jnanam, I have, different types of jnanam. Science jnanam, geography jnanam, etc. They are all different types. But in all of them, the most superior is called jnanam. This is of the nature of atma jnanam. So here it talks about atma jnanam, eka sadhyam. This is only possible. Sadhyam means what? To be achieved, or that to be possible only because in jnanam only possible. So dhruvam. So jnanaika sadhyam dhruvam. So jiveshana jagadishwar rahitam jnanaika sadhyam dhruvam. Then yena means by which, or by that knowledge. Yena, by that knowledge. Atmanya atirohitaha. Atmanya, see the word yenatmanyati rohitaha. You'll have to break it into yena atmanya atirohitaha. See, atirohita means that which is above, or that one was crossed. It's called atirohati. The one who has actually crossed that, or the one who has cleared or understood this particular phenomenon is called atirohati. And who is this? Atmani, the one who has understood this truth in the Atma, not one's own self, not in other things. You do not understand this truth in other objects. The other objects are only external to you. So the person who is able to understand this philosophy or this meaning in one's own self is called Atmani Atirohati. So once you get this knowledge, once you arrive at this truth, you will be rising above all these objective forms of knowledge. So you will no longer be interested in all these pursuits. If you are still interested in these pursuits, it means there is still some work to be done, or you are working towards getting the jnana. You are not ready yet. See, if you want to climb a ladder, if you want to go to the top, everybody has different steps. Somebody is already, there are, say, 15 steps to ladder. So you already are on the ladder somewhere. You cannot go back now, because there are people standing behind you. So there are people also going above. So what do you do there? You wait there for a long time, as long as other person goes up or somebody drops down. So somebody drops down, then what is the, oh, they are all going down, let me also go down. So you again go back to the same philosophy where you started from, because you find, oh my God, it's a very steep climb. I have to climb another 10 more steps. I don't know when I will get there. So people are already standing there for a long time. They are not able to go up there. So should I just continue this or not continue this? See, this question will come to every sadhaka. I'm 100% sure all of you will be thinking about this. Every time you study Shastram, you will come across this very, very famous question. Should I continue or not continue? How long should I continue? Will I get there or not? What is the guarantee that I'll get there? All these questions will keep coming again and again, again and again. Every day you do this activity. Correct? So nobody can deny it, because even I had the same issue. So when you start on anything, you have this initial thing as to, but at that time, fortunately, due to my Guru's kripa, and I just surrendered. I said, it doesn't matter. I never questioned. So time has flown. 14 years has flown now. 14 years. And when I look back now where I started, maybe when I was, I came to Australia first time, I had no idea who these people are. They're all, I used to just join the people. Senior people, advanced people who were talking about all this Vedanta. We were all, my son was only about maybe 8 years old, 7 years old, something like this, when I started studying all these things. Now he's 25 and the other one is 14. So I've been studying for a long time. So what I'm trying to tell you is that all of you will have the same issues. You will come across these issues and you will have to cross this. And crossing this is a difficult thing. Every time and again there will be a temptation. Something will come and knock on the door. See, very, very tempting for you to refuse. Very tempting. See, let's do this today. Today, let's give it a skip, or tomorrow, let's give it a skip and see what happens. Once you do that, then it will hold on to you. It will become a habit regularly. So you have to be very careful about this. This pursuit of knowledge is very sincere, committed, systematic, regular, very important. All these words, why he says it, because the munayo moksham samashchakshate, the first line. These people are not become munis just like that. They have understood that jnanaika sadhyam dhruvam. So jnanam is the only way it is possible. And they have reconciled to the fact that this is the only way, there is no other way. So they have left everything else. Or they have pushed everything out of their window and they are only focusing on this. And by doing this, atmanyati rohati. So the one who has completed this, he raises above all of them. Atmani atirohati. So in the Asuttam also, yad annena atirohati. Yadannena atirohati. Yetavanasya mahima. So same things here. Then what happens? Swa mahimanam. So swa means what? Self. Correct? And Mahimanam means, Mahi means greatness. So Mahimana means that which is of the nature of, Manam means, you can say an attribute of feeling complete. Manam apamanam means you feel respectful, you feel very elated. So you feel satisfied internally. So Swa Mahimanam means what? Swa means what? Self. Swataha, Swa means self. Swa Mahimana means what? Once you get this feeling, once you achieve this knowledge, you are Atmani Atirohati, you already risen above everything else. Then what do you feel? You also feel Swa Mahimanam. Oh, you feel highly elated. I have actually now attained what I wanted to achieve. Or I'm actually feeling very, very, pleasant. I'm very happy about it. I'm just feeling floating, something like this. When you have happiness, what do? You are very happy, cheerful, talking to everybody, feel nice, etc. When you're sad, you start to bark at people. You sometimes, yell at people. Correct. So the one who's in fullness is called Swa Mahimanam. Then what does it do? If you have that kind of a feeling, Anandam Atmaka Basate. See, Anandmako Basate. See, Basate means shine. Okay. Basate means shine. And what shines? Anandam shines. So you people can see you don't see yourself because Somebody tells you that, see, something has changed in you. You know, you feel radiant or something is there. But you will say, no, I have not changed. I don't know what you're saying, because you look at the mirror yourself and you see your own face there, correct? But other people who have been seeing you for many years, they can notice the change, correct? So, because what does it do is, it brings in you a change in personality, it brings in you a change of your own face becomes radiant, your own personality becomes radiant, your attitude becomes more upfront, and you feel more friendly, amiable, and compassionate. So all of these qualities are present in the person. So bhasate. Then mithya adhyasamiti. So mithya means what? That which is not the truth. See, in Sanskrit, in Vedantam, we have three things: Satyam, Mithya, and Tucham. Three words. Satyam means what? The truth. Satyam means the truth. In terms of the wave and the water, what is Satyam? Wave Satyam or water Satyam? Water is Satyam, correct? So water is Satyam. So we have one word called Satyam is water. So the wave is what? Is an appearance of the water, correct? So the wave appears to be second thing, but the wave is actually not two things. The wave is only water only. The water itself is appearing in the wave form, and the wave continues to think that I am a wave. Then it is not the fault. It is not the problem of the water. Right? It is the problem of the wave. Same way, the jiva or the individual thinks that I am different from the Bhagavan. So the Bhagavan does not come and tell you that no, you are my own, belong to me only. Even if he comes and tells you also, you won't believe it, because we are so deep-rooted in all this objective world that you will start to question the Bhagavan itself. How it is possible that I can trust you? Because you are there, I am here. And you are telling me that I am you. And he says, I can't accept it. Because you cannot accept that, because it is, jnanam has not come there. When the jnanam arises in you, when the teaching really goes into your mind very, very clearly, at that time when the Bhagavan comes, you will also feel that, okay, look, my own Swarupam is appearing as Bhagavan there. That's what it says here, what? Anandam Atmako Bhasate, Mithya Adhyasam. So Mithya means what? Adhyasa means, see, Adhyasa means superimposition. Adhyasam means superimposition. So what is superimposition? You are adding or treating something as different. Example is the Rajju Sarpa Vivadaha, snake and a rope. So snake and a rope, let us say, it's a famous example, and most people already know, but I'm repeating for the people who are not learned before. On a dull, very, very evening, you're coming from home, and you've got a backyard, and you're just looking at the backyard, and suddenly there's no light. It's a very dim lit, and you see a streak of something lying on the grass, and it is very thick. And you're living in a bushland. It is possible that you have seen snakes before then. So immediately when you look at through the glass window, you will feel that there is a snake there. And it happens to us many times. Sometimes we just look at it, there's some bird flying through or some cockroach flying through, and then you look at it, actually there's nothing there. So here also, you think there's a snake there. So you go and tell your friend or somebody who say, look, I think I saw a snake there. There's a snake there, I'm not willing to go out. Other person says, see, there's no really snake there. There's only, you must be imagining. No. I think I'm very sure I saw a thick one, dark colored one It is lying on the floor there, and I'm not going to go there. So your friend now says, okay, you come with me, I'll take the torch. So he leads the front, the torch, and you follow. He goes and says, is this what you saw? He said, yeah, this is what I saw. This is just a tube, a black tube lying there, for water tube lying there. Then how did you see a snake? Oh no, I think I saw a snake there, and I probably mistook it for a snake. So the appearance of the snake was a truth or not a truth? It is a mithya, correct? It had actually appeared to be something different, but it's actually a rope, correct? The rope which appeared to be a snake was a superimposition of the snake on the rope. Hope you will follow, right? The superimposition of the snake on the rope is called adhyasam here. So adhyasam is called mithya because it is not the truth. So that which is not the truth is called mithya. So the snake is not the truth. The rope is the truth. The snake and the rope are not two different things because snake was never there before. There's no snake there before. There's only rope was there. But due to your ignorance, due to the some sort of doubts about your own understanding, you thought there was a snake there. So did the snake disappear out of the rope, or the snake got resolved in the rope? The snake got resolved in the rope because there was no snake there. The same way, Jiva also, when it understands this philosophy, the Jiva merges into the Parameshwara, into the Tatparam. So there is nothing called Jiva and this thing called, so there's only one truth. Right? So Mithya Adhyasam iti Ena means by which, by that knowledge. Ena Galati. Galati means what? Not mistake. Galati means it is called here resolve or destruction of the Ajnanam. Galati means destruction of the Ajnanam or destruction of the ignorance. So Galati. So in the wake of the knowledge, the mithyatvam of the universe is resolved, correct? So mithya adhyasamiti ena galitam jnanam tad eva amalam. So jnanam is of the nature of what? Amalam. So malam means what? That which is supposed to be of the nature of dirty, jnana, malam. And amalam means that which is pure. So malam means impure and amalam means pure. So jnanam is of the nature of what? Pureness, correct? Ajnanam is of the nature of impurity. Because what is ajnanam? Ajnanam involves your understanding. See, our thoughts have got impurity, correct? Our speech has got impurity. Our seeing power has got impurity. Hearing power has got impurity. See, this impurity means what is subject to defective things. You cannot guarantee that what I am seeing is always the correct one. And what you see today will not be there tomorrow also. Your hearing power can change. Your hearing power can increase or decrease depending upon how you feel on a particular day. So it is subject to defects. So that's called malam. Whereas jnanam is a nature of amalam. Right? So that's why it says here jnanam tat eva amalam. You got all the meanings of the words? All of them? Kushalji, have you got all the meanings of the words? Sort of.
Sort of, yes.
Anything unclear for you? Anything? Any particular word which you think is unclear to you?
So I'm just trying to understand. So that last line says that pure knowledge will, that which removes what is not the truth is
Correct.
the pure knowledge alone.
Correct. See, pure knowledge, all of the words here, all of them, they talk about pure knowledge only. All of them. See, tatparam, sukham, jnanam, amalam, right? Atmani atirohati, swamahimanam, anandamakam, jnanaikam, sadhyam, dhruvam. All these words indicate what? Pure consciousness. All the words. So if you want to really look at what right definition of what consciousness is, you must write out consciousness is of nature of tat param, that which is beyond anything else. That is that paramam. Right? Equal to sukham, moksham, jiva, jagat, ishvara rahitam, jnanam, sadhyam, that which is to be achieved. So jnanam is the nature of knowledge. Ekam means one. Sadhyam, that which is to be achieved. Dhruvam means that which does not move, which is always steady. Atmani atirohitam means that which is beyond everything. Atirohati means what? That which lifts apart, that which stands apart above everything else. Right? And it is present in the Atma, in one's own self. Then, Swamahimanam. So, the elation or the happiness one feels in one's own self. That means Atmani Ramate, means the one who is, the word Rama itself means what? Happiness. The one who is actually nature of happiness called Rama. Right. Then, Anandam Bhasate means that which is of the nature of shining, Anandam. Right? Then Nitya Adhyasam is removed. So that which removes the Nitya Adhyasam. And Amalam. Got it?
Yeah.
So all these words are actually the same thing, but they indicate. So the way you understand is, that's the structure of the word itself is beautiful. So a person who understands this Atma, the nature of Tatparam, Sukham, Moksham, Jiva Jagadishwar Rahitam, Jnanam, Ekam, Sadhyam, Dhruvam, Atmani Atirohitam, Swamahimanam, Anandam, Mithya Adhyasam, Rahitam, Jnanam, Amalam, such a person, Prapyam. So the word Prapyam is the first one. Only when a person understands all these things, he will be able to achieve this particular happiness status.
Okay.
Got it now?
Yeah.
All of you got it? Any other question from anyone else? Before I go into a little bit more detail. Now, in the last class, I told you that I haven't even completed what I wanted to say. But I will, in this, there are 4 different messages being conveyed. 4 different ideas. So the first one is called Aham Chaitanya Swarupamasmi. Aham Chaitanya Swarupamasmi. Aham means what? I am. And Chaitanya means what? Of the nature of consciousness. Swarupa means what? It is my own nature. So Swarupa means my own nature. And my nature is what? Chaitanyam. Asmi means I am that. So I am that who is of the nature of consciousness, which is my Swarupam, which is my real nature. So this is the first thing. Second thing is Aham Nirguna Swarupaha Asmi. Aham Nirguna Swarupaha Asmi. Means I am free from all properties or attributes. So nirgunam, when you say, gunam means what? It indicates attributes or qualities. So sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna, or the three different types of differences called sajati bedaha, vijati beda, swagata beda. So it means differences between one's own self, between species and another type of species. Right? So you got differences, just as in swagata beda. Swagata means what? One's own. My head is different from my torso. My ear is different from my ears. My eyes. So within one's own physical body, each part of the body is different. Right? So swagata beda. Then sajatiyam means I am differences between male and female, transgender. There are differences. Correct? So there are differences in species itself. Within human being itself, there are differences in species. Correct? So humans, male, female, different things are there, and they are different structure are there. So there are differences. Then vijatiya bedaha means what? See, sajati means what? Jati means Manusha jati, correct? So sajati means what? Saha. Jati means what? Among the people, among the jati. So Manusha jati itself, we have got male, female jatis, correct? So sajati. Then vijati means what? That which is outside the species, human species, like animals or spider. So I am different from those things. So there are differences between myself in my own physical body. There are differences between my own species, which is in the Manusha Jati itself. And there are differences between me, the human beings, and also other things. So this is called attributes. So I'm always different. Right? But what the Shastram says here, aham nirgunaha swarupa vasmi. I am actually free from all these attributes. So first of all, I am the consciousness. Second thing is, I am that nirgunam Brahma. Then third, aham satya swarupaha asmi. Aham satya swarupaha asmi. Means I am the only one which is in the creation. This only reality. I am Satyam. I am not anything else. So Satyam means what? I am the truth. I am the present in everything. There is no other second thing other than me. Or the only substance in the creation. If at all there was a creation, I am the substance. If at all there was a wave or waves, in all the waves, I am the only Satyam water. There is no other thing other than me. So the water does not have to go and tell the wave that you are different. Correct. Once the water itself knows that I don't have to go and tell anyone that I am different. I know that I am the only one. People may have different views. They may have different ideas. But I am the truth. So aham satya swarupam asmi. Then aham ananda swarupam asmi. Fourth, aham ananda swarupam asmi. So I am the nature of always ananda. I am always happiness, fullness, limitlessness, awareness. All of the same meaning. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. See, the Veda says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Paramepyo Man. So the Veda says that you are Satyam Jnanam Anantam and you are Brahma, means you are consciousness. Who says is Yo Vedaha, means that Veda. And Nihitam Guhayam. Guha means what? A cave. So this particular Anandam is present in the deepest of your cave. What is a cave? In the mind. So in your mind you can go deep and deep and deep. As long as you want, you can go deeper and deeper to analyze it. Because the mind itself is like a big cave. So many things are hidden in the mind. You do not know what is inside your mind, correct? Can you know what's inside the cave? You do not. Only when you enter into the cave, you will know that the cave has got river, it has got bats, it has got crocodiles, it has got spiders, it has got, so many things are present in the caves, right? So, and it has got intercurrent tunnels, streams, underwater currents, so many things are there. So the cave itself has to be explored. Only you will know deeper and deeper you have to go into the cave, correct? So same is called Yoveda Nihitam Guhayam Paramet Vyoman. Just as the space itself is spread out and wide, you do not know where the space begins and where the space ends. The same way, this particular thing is called Ananda Swarupamasmi. So the beginning and endless, it's called limitlessness. So four things are described here. Aham Chaitanya Swarupamasmi, Aham Nirguna Swarupamasmi, Aham Satya Swarupamasmi, Aham Ananda Swarupamasmi. So we have to assimilate these four statements for the fourth mantra. So the first principle is Aham Chaitanya Swarupamasmi. Okay. So we have to apply the logic like this. I am different from whatever I experience. Means anything you experience, I am not that. So when you say experience, you are experiencing cold, experiencing pain, experiencing pleasure, experiencing sadness, experiencing bliss. All of these experiences are known to you, correct? All these experiences are known to you. So anything that is known to you, that is not, I am not that. So you have to be very conscious about this, that the author here is trying to understand that Chaitanya means what? Consciousness. So experience, see in everything there's an experiencer, you. Experiencing, the act of experience, correct? And experienced. So three things are present in everything what you do, correct? Eater, eating, and the eaten also, correct? Illuminator, illumining, illumined. So in all the three, you have to know what, without the experiencer, can there be an experience? There cannot be something called experiencing without the experience of being there, correct? If you are not there as a person, the experience is not possible. And experience also is not possible. How can you say, I'm experiencing this? You say, who is experiencing this? I am. So the question is, who is this I am is being asked here. So when you say I am, when you say, who is this I am? I keep asking this. I say I am experiencing. So I ask, who is I am? Say I am. So the author says, who is this I am? So I am so and so. My name is so and so. I got a physical body. I got his eyes. I am experiencing this. But Shastram says, you are not that. Then you ask, so who am I? That's where he's asking. Okay. So you are that consciousness which cannot be experienced by anything else. So the consciousness is a principle which cannot experience because it is of the nature of abstract things. It cannot experience. It doesn't do an action. Right? So the logic is the experiencer subject has to be different from the experienced or the object. You cannot become the object always at the same time. If you are seeing a tree, you can tell that you are a tree. At the same time, you cannot become the tree and the tree can tell you that you are a human being, correct? Because there's a difference. So subject cannot be the object. Hope you're following, right? Subject cannot be the object. Because if you are the subject, object will be outside, always outside of you. Correct. So there's always a difference between subject and object relationship. Correct. So the first lesson using this principle that you have to decide you are the Chaitanya Swarupam. How do you do this? You'll have to keep on negating everything you see. Example, you see the sun. I am seeing the sun. Yes, you are seeing the sun. But if you close your eyes or you go to sleep, is the sun available to you for recognition? It is not. Because you, the experiencer, is not there. You, the knower, is not present. Therefore, the sun is not available to you for experiencing. So which comes first? You come first, the sun comes first. You have to come first. You should be there above everything else for the sun to be known, for the moon to be known. If you, the knower, is not present at all, say you go to sleep, or you are deep sleep state, you do not know anything at all, then the sun also is not there for you. The moon is also not there for you. The star also is not there for you. Even the earth also is not there for you. When you wake up, who wakes up first? You, the person wakes up first. When you wake up, only the sun wakes up after you. The sun does not wake up before you, because what it means is, I shine, therefore everything shines. I see, therefore everything is visible. If I do not see, other objects are as good as non-existent. What we're going to follow, right? If I am not there at all, supposing tomorrow I am not there, some reason, this world is not there real for me at all. Somebody can tell you, see, in deep sleep state, somebody can tell you, see, there is a world existing there, something's happening there, but you are fast asleep, you do not even know who you are at that time. So somebody may be experiencing the world because he's the knower, he's awake. But you, being the knower, is not there, or your mind is resolved. Correct? In such a case, the object itself is not there, the sun itself is not there. So what it says here, I am the experiencer, I am the subject, and the subject will always be at the forefront with the object. Object can never become subject. So you can never become the object of knowledge, but you will always be subject. Always you will be there. Only in you will be able to recognize everything else. Okay. So you have to negate, I am not the earth, I am not the microphone, I am not the camera, I am not the speaker, I am not the hearer. All of these only one, because all of things you already know about it. What about your physical body? Question, what may I ask? Okay, I am able to negate everything else. I can negate the trees, I can negate the sound, I can negate the rivers, mountains, everything. We say, I am not that. But then, now you arrive at finally what? After you remove all of them, all the objects outside of you. Now you are stuck with your own things. So the question asked is, what about me? What about my physical body and mind? Your physical body is known to you, correct? You know you got an arm, you got a head, you got an eye, everything is known to you. Right? You can distinguish yourself from other people also. Correct? You also know your hunger. You also know your tiredness. You also know your anger. When you walk, you have a knee problem. When you correct. When you get up also, you got knee problem, you can't sit, you got headache, all sorts of things are known to you. So all these things are already known to you, and they are also coming and going. They are not permanent. Knee joint, knee pain will have today, tomorrow you'll be okay. Today you'll feel sleepy, tomorrow you'll be very fresh. Right? Today you feel hungry, tomorrow you will not be hungry at the same time. Thirsty, tomorrow you may not be feeling thirsty. So all these things are also known to you. Right? So Vedanta says, that object, body also is an object of experience. Body also is an object of experience. So it is also not you. You means what? The knower. So you are different from the body. You are different from the mind. You are different from all the objective universe. So then who are you? You are Chaitanyam. You are the consciousness. You are the awareness. You are the truth. So in you only everything is visible. So I had to be there always for this world to exist. The world doesn't have existence outside of me. The world comes after me, not before me. The sun shines after me, not before me. The moon shines after me, not before me. Right? So the pain also comes after when I wake up. In deep sleep state, do you experience pain? You do not. Mosquito bite, do you understand? No. Correct? If mosquito is biting you, you do not even know about it. Next day morning, how do you know? Because you wake up, you feel a big swell there, you feel itchy, you are scratched. Correct? So all of this pain, pleasures, sorrow, etc., they come after you. That's why you are called Aham Chaitanyam Swarupamasmi. I am of the nature of Chaitanyam. I am the consciousness. I am not any of these objects which is there. That's what it says here. Prapyam Tatparam Sukham. See the first line. Prapyam Tatparam Sukham means you can attain that knowledge only when happiness is possible, only when you're Chaitanya. In everything else, you will feel Asukam only. Right? So this is the first lesson. First lesson. That means you are Chaitanya Sarupam Aham Asmi. Got it? This is deep Vedanta. We are going now. I have taken you now from the shore of Ganga. Now I have left you in the middle of the river. Now either you have to swim with me or you choose to walk alone and drown. There's no choice. You have to just have to cross the river. Okay. So you will cross the river. Don't worry about it. Nothing to worry about. You just keep listening. I'll make it as clear as possible to you. So we're taking time. I meant to cover 3 more things. I've not covered any of them. Okay. So the first thing is Aham Chaitanyam Swarupam Asmi. Is it clear? The first one? Yes.
I can ask the question later, but
you can ask now. Yes, because I will not be able to complete the other 3. So you can ask the question now.
Okay, I'll ask it now. You said that if something is the object of my knowledge, it's not me, but I know that I exist. I know that there's something inside me that is alive. So if I know that that is alive, then that is object. So then.
Correct. That also an object. See, because anything which is alive in you, what is alive in you to understand? What is alive? That which is living thing, correct? So a living thing is what? Is something which is already living in you. So you have to be able to justify, you have to be able to quantify the living thing. So how do you say, when you say living means what? It actually has got a life, correct? A living means a living thing has got a life. It has got a beginning and an end, correct? So you can quantify a living thing as what? The tissues, the blood cells, all of them which is kicking there, the heart is living there, the mind is living there, thoughts are living there, correct? All of them are living things. So if you are referring to that, then the thoughts are also beginning and they have an end. Thoughts come and go, correct? All the physical parts of the body come and go. They are not going to be there all the time. Our blood levels shrink a lot, they improve a lot. Our blood vessels don't perform exactly the same thing. We age, they deteriorate a period of time. All of
what
that.
I meant is I'm aware. There's an awareness.
Correct.
But I know that there is an awareness. So that means that awareness is an object, which means it's not me.
Yeah, see, correct. Awareness, when you say, awareness is that by which everything else is known. So when you finally arrive at the particular thing called awareness, there is no more called object. So you just become the witness, that's it, Sakshi. So in the Sakshi, you do not speak, you do not experience anything. So it's just, a feeling of calm and quietness. So awareness, when you say, it is something by which you experience everything else, correct? That's what it says here. So awareness is that by which everything is experienced. But awareness is distinct from the experienced. Okay. But not distant from the experienced. Okay. Awareness is different from the experienced, but not distant from the experienced, because Atma and the mind, etc., they are connected together. They are joined together because they call Chidabhasa. So we call Chid Abhasa means what? The infusion of the consciousness in the mind is called Chidabhasa. So there's a light which is being given, or temporary connection being given by the consciousness to the mind, and the mind gets radiant. And this radiance is actually being seen as a living thing. This radiance, temporary radiance, temporary living, is what is termed as the mind. And this is what is people see as the one which is called consciousness, but it is not. Because the mind itself is inert product. The mind itself cannot function independently, correct? For the mind to function, there has to be something else that is powering the mind. Just as example give you is the bulb you got in your home. The bulb itself is actually a physical body, you can say, correct? The filament inside the physical body is called the mind in the bulb, right? The filament itself cannot glow, and because the filament cannot glow, the bulb also cannot glow, correct? The filament is required for the bulb to function, correct? Same way, the filament, the mind also is required for the body to function, correct? Both of them are jada, they are inert. The physical, the bulb and the filament, they are both inert by nature because they just cannot illuminate. You can have a bulb in your hand and a filament in your hand, and you say glow, 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 it won't glow. So what do you need? You need electricity there, correct? You need to connect to a power source or power point or power, and then infuse power into the filament. Then the filament glows, and then the bulb glows. The bulb does not glow. Okay. The bulb can be a different color, red color bulb, blue color bulb, different types of bodies there. Short body, stout body, long body, tall body, everything is there. Different as a body. Inside that, the mind is glowing, and because of the mind functioning, the physical body centers glow, and they come into existence, correct? But the electricity which is powering the filament, can you see it? You cannot see it. But you know it exists, but you cannot define how it is. The closest example I can give you is the electricity which is passing in your line. You know it is there, but you cannot see it, but you know it is there. Correct? The same way, you understand there is consciousness, there is awareness, because it is by which everything else is revealed. But that which cannot be revealed by itself, because there is nothing more than the consciousness does not need another thing called consciousness to tell you are the consciousness, because it's actually revealing by nature. Its nature is to reveal. See, the nature of the sun is to what? Is to shine. Correct? Example. The sun itself is a nature of self-shining. The sun doesn't need another sun to go and tell that, look, you are the sun. Your job is to get up in the morning at 6 o'clock and go to sleep at 6 o'clock. No. The sun does its job because it is nature of illumination. When the sun comes up, when it rises, it illumines everything. The same way, the sun is not doing action called illumining, correct? Is it doing action called illumining? It is not. Because it is the nature of sun to illuminate. Nature of the fire is to burn. So the fire is not saying that I am going to burn, because fire itself means what? Its inherent nature is to burn. Fire and heat are inseparable things. But how do you know? Because you put your finger in the fire, you get the heat, correct? You experience the heat. So when you experience the heat, you know it is fire, correct? The same way when you experience the objects in the physical world, You know that this is the consciousness which is present, which is the one responsible for illuminating this entire thing. So in the Anatma Prapancham, in the entire thing, you must remove all the physical objects of the world, including the universe. You must also remove yourself, including a physical body, mind, sense of complex thoughts, vritti, everything should remove. So when you remove all of them, what you are left is only with awareness, correct? And that awareness is just you. That is what it says here, Aham Chaitanyam Sarupam Asmi. You got it? You'll get there. You are almost, you are understanding to some extent, is coming there closer. So as you study more and more, you will be able to understand that this is what it is. So in awareness, in consciousness, people don't speak because consciousness does not speak. Consciousness doesn't have a thing called papam and punyam. So, when you ask somebody why all this is happening, because who is asking the question? Who is asking the question? Am I asking the question, or is conscious asking the question? If you say that I am asking the question that why this world was created, why this Papa was created, so from which standpoint you're asking is important. Am I asking the question as the Jiva, or am I asking the question as consciousness? If I say I'm not asking the question as Jiva, then I do not have anything like this. I'm not worried about all these things. Papam, Punyam, who is doing what, I'm not worried about it. But if I say that why this world was created, why did the Bhagavan first create Papam Punyam, why all this drama was created, you will have to ask the question, who is asking the question? So am I asking the question means what? Who am I? So you have to define. So no, I am actually the Jiva. So then you are limited by your experiences. You are part of this universe. You have got all the Papam Punyam. You are limited to person. So naturally you will be affected by all these things. But when you say that, no, I am not asking this question from Jiva point of view, I am asking this question from the consciousness point of view, then consciousness doesn't have any Punya and Papam. It doesn't have anything called creation. It doesn't have anything called destruction. It doesn't have anything called change. Thereby, I am not interested. I am not worried about what's happening in this world. I do not have any connection. I'm not worried about Papam, Punyam. I'm not worried about who is creating what, why this is happening, why that is happening. They are Laukika Vishaya. So this is what you have to arrive at. Sometime back you asked a question. Remember that? So ask a question, why is the whole thing, drama is created, why this world was created? So you have to ask, okay, who is asking the question? So when you say, I am asking the question. So if I ask you, who are you? Say, no, I am so and so person, and I'm a sadhaka, I'm a listener, I'm a study, I'm a student. So you belong to the universe. You have got all the different types of gunas and you've got all the attributes. So naturally you'll be affected by this. But when you say that I didn't ask the question from that point of view, I'm asking the question from the consciousness point of view, then consciousness doesn't have mouth to speak. It doesn't have any tool to speak. It is maunam. It is silent. So when you arrive at the truth, you will not have any questions to ask. You're getting right? When you arrive at the truth, you will remain mauna vakyam prakatitam. Like Dakshinamurti is what? Without saying anything, he will reveal all of them. So maunam means what? Silence. So in silence, everything is understood. Questions keep coming to you because thoughts are rising and going, and thoughts are coming in your mind. And mind is what is Anatma Prapancha. The question that I'm asking this question, who am I, or why I am living this world, also is Anatma Prapancha. So once you arrive at the truth of that, as source of that itself, then you will no longer have this question. You will not have any question. Got it? You'll get this for a bit of time. Hope you understood, right? Srikanji and Bhavani, you are able to follow, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is slightly difficult. I'm actually taken you to this topic is like this. because now you have been studying for some time now, you'll have to get exposure, to some dosage, to some topics about all these things.
We'll keep listening, as you said so.
Yeah, you're getting more clarity, right? As and when you listen, right? You're able to.
Yes, we can follow.
Yeah. See, the key thing is you have to ask yourself the question that, is this world true or not? So when I say this world is true, that means then who are you? I'm also true. So true and true cannot live together. Two things cannot live together because you have to be different. You and the world, are same, but you're also distinct because this belongs to different order of reality. And you belong to different order of reality. So that's what we're going to see in next call. Aham Nirgunam Swarupam Asmi. So we're going to see that. But I'm going to take a short break because of Navaratri. So this is a class. We're going to stop here. And we're going to break for Navaratri. This Saturday is Navaratri starting. This Saturday. So we will break for the whole 9 days and we will continue after the Vijayadashami. So Vijayadashami will be, I'll tell you the dates. Because most people are busy in setting up Navaratri, people will be there. Some people will go to somebody's house, even limited. So they'll be busy. People will be running around, and this is a time for Devi worship also. So one has to spend time on worshipping the Devi, chanting Devi Mahatmyam, Durga Suktam, or doing some prayers at home. You can use this time to revisit your notes, go through the notes you have made already, all the previous topics studied before, and then we'll reconvene after the Navaratri is over, which is Vijayadashami day. Okay. So there'll be no class next week, next Wednesday. There'll be no class tomorrow either because I got only one class this Friday. After that, I'm going to give a break for all Vedanta students. So that use your time effectively to study and make notes, revisit, and then we'll reconvene after that. I'll put a note in the WhatsApp group when we'll restart, but there'll be no class after this for some time. Okay, maybe for 2 weeks or so. Is it okay? Mama, you're okay? You're able to follow?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. It's not difficult for you, right, Mama?
No. Today it's very clear, actually.
Okay. Maybe today was more fresh than yesterday.
Yeah, maybe.
So we'll stop the class here and we will meet again on after the Vijayadashami. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste. Shubhratri and happy Navaratri to all of you.
Shubhratri.
Happy Navaratri.